Okay, so like now that we finished Ghost Trick, I don't know if Ghost Trick came out before or after uh Ace Attorney. It seems like it would come before. I mean, unless the guy, what's his name? I mean, unless he had like the whole series planned out beforehand, Shu Takumi, unless he had the whole series planned out beforehand, like, or unless it got super duper popular, you know, like Ghost Trick was kind of like, it's kind of like one of those like hidden gems, I guess, where it's like, oh, like people kind of knew about it, but like, I don't know, maybe it was like the puzzles involved. Maybe that one had. I mean, that one technically has like more gameplay in it than all of the Ace Attorney games. But like, I don't know. He's making bank on this damn Ace Attorney series. But we're starting with this one because technically I wanted to go by timeline. So technically, since this one takes place in like, I think maybe Meiji era Japan. I don't know if it's like specifically stated to be Japan because I think it got censored. Cause I remember like the assistant lady, I forgot her name. She was kind of like xenophobic against like Westerners. I don't know if they changed it or maybe they kind of like toned it down. I can't remember. I feel like I read that somewhere. But and also Sherlock Holmes is in this game, but they couldn't use him because the Doyle estate is like I don't know if it's gonna run out soon. Like their whole like, copyright trademark whatever thing is gonna run out soon. So he's called Herlock Sholmes, which is like I guess a way to do it. Sure. I forgot what his assistant is called though. I don't think she can be called Watson. I feel like she like maybe they did something else with her name. But we're gonna start with this one and then we're gonna do like the actual first Ace Attorney. And then I think at least like that's like this the kind of like schedule we're going not schedule, but like the I guess the order of games we're gonna go with. So this one's first, and then the first one, and then at least I think Miles Edgeworth is going to be the one after the first Phoenix Wright game. I don't know if it's like gonna be the first two, or maybe like the first two, and then for some reason, if I can get it to work, we would do the I forgot what it was called. The the Professor Layton crossover. Cause that also, I mean, it's a side story-ish thing, like a maybe non-canon game, but in the whatever in the timeline, I'm pretty sure it would at least take place after the first game, cause Maya's still there. I think. I mean, it could have totally taken place. What does she come back? Like after the second game? No, she goes back home technically, like after the second game is done. Like after the end of the second game, she goes back home, I think. So it has to be after the first one. Anyway, let's start this shit. I started this game and I didn't get very far. Let's see. How far did I get? Oh, okay. Never mind then. Well, I mean, I started it, but I didn't. I got to the part where. Oh, wait. How many? How many did I actually? I thought I got. Hmm. Maybe I got far. Maybe I got farther than I thought I did. Oh my god, there's like actual cutscenes.
文明開化の大号令のもと極東の島国にまさに今西洋文化の大波が押し寄せていた活気に満ち溢れる帝都の民は変化革新の熱気にむせ返りその変化に戸惑う者も飲み込んで
Okay, I don't know if I can change the language to English. But I mean, I guess the Japanese makes more sense because they're technically in Japan. Although I don't know if it's like specifically stated. Because you know how usually they kind of like make up like a punny name or something. At least in the English like translations of these things. But I guess it being in Japan. But then again, there's no voice acting like in the game. It's just in like the cutscenes. 22nd November, 8:43 a.m. Supreme Court of Adjudicature, Defendants, Antechamber 5. I still can't believe it. I still can't believe this is happening. How can it be that just beyond the doors to this quiet little chamber is the highest court in Japan. Yep. Waiting to decide my fate. What? Oh, no, nothing. Savior Claire's murderer. Sorry. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo, which is, it's actually Phoenix's name in the English, like the future Phoenix. So it's kind of funny that they would use, I mean, I don't know if he's actually called this in Japanese, like his ancestor. This is supposed to be his ancestor from what I can remember reading. Like his ancestor and him have the exact same name. I'm a second-year student at the Imperial Yume University. 3 days ago, I somehow found myself in the middle of a horrifying incident. And now, here I am, awaiting my trial. That's enough. He's not obliged to listen to such abuse, officer. And who are you? I'm this man's lawyer. I'll be defending him today. Lawyer? Yes, and until the judge has given his verdict on the case, no one has the right to treat him as a criminal. So you will hold your tongue. Technicalities. Look at you. You haven't even graduated yet. And yet, I still seem to know better than you how a court officer should behave. Right, Ryunosuke? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. What are you apologizing to me for? Oh, No, I suppose that wasn't my fault. But really, Kazuma, I never meant to drag you into this. I'm sorry. There you go again, apologizing. Just like always. And of course, like, anime, like, mysterious wind. The mysterious wind is happening. Though I must say, you've been all over the newspapers these past few days. Yume University professor murdered in cold blood by student. But obviously, you didn't actually do it, did you? Of course not. You have to believe me. I didn't do it. I could never murder someone. Then there's nothing to worry about. Straighten yourself up. Hold your head high. You mean... I believe you. I know you're innocent, Ryunosuke. Kazuma Asogi, my best friend. Also in his second year at Yume University. But he's far more clever than I. A star student, in fact. He's even a qualified lawyer. Impressive, considering he's still an undergraduate. It's not that impressive. The very concept of lawyers is only a few years old. Here in Japan, anyway. My qualifications don't mean much. Yet. You said exactly the same thing 3 days ago. But I'm proud to have a friend like you, Kazuma. Truly. 3 days ago. Yes, that's when all this started. Congratulations, Kazuma. It looks like you're going to get to study abroad at last. I know. I've been forever dreaming of this day. Finally, those government elites have acknowledged my academic achievements and success in court. So you'll be representing Japan as you immerse yourself in the most sophisticated legal system in the world. I'm really happy for you, and proud, as your friend. There's not a soul in the university who doesn't know Kazuma's name. He's a living legend. It's like there's some mysterious aura billowing around his temple. I want to bring about change in our own legal system. That's why I have to cross the ocean to see the real thing with my own eyes. The heart of the British Empire. I wish I could see it too. Then come with me. We'd have a wild time tearing up the streets of Her Majesty's City of London together. If only it were that simple. Oh dear, look at the time. I'd better be going. Alright, I'll see you later. I think I'll stay and enjoy this place a while longer. Good idea. After all, it's not every day you get to visit a high-class Western restaurant like this. See you in English class tomorrow then, partner. Although, is there a reason why he's like carrying a sword with him all the time? It was straight after that. That's when it happened. Asogi, may I have a word? Professor, I didn't know you were coming. Well, this case has personal significance to me, but never mind that for now, Asogi. You should go immediately to the judge's chambers. To His Excellency's chambers? Why? He was looking for you before. You advocating for the defense in this trial was a sudden decision. It seems there may be some confusion about procedures today as a result. Who is this man? I feel as though I've seen him at university before. I see. I'll go at once then. I shall accompany you. Alright then, Ryunosuke. I'll see you in the courtroom. Yes, thanks, Kazuma. Ugh, this is awkward. If I may... Yes? Sorry? You must be the defendant. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, I believe. Yes, that's right. My name is Eugene Mikotoba. Wait, right? Mikotoba. I'm a professor of forensic medicine at Yume University. Ah, Professor Mikotoba. I've heard that name from Kazuma before. As I recall, he's been pushing to get the government to agree to Kazuma studying abroad. Asogi has told me about you. You and he are best friends, I understand. As such, I feel you should know. Know what? Well, as you've no doubt heard, Asogi has been granted permission to go and study in Britain. However, if he should fail to defend you in today's trial, I'm afraid that permission will be revoked and never granted again. What? Ah, as I suspected, you were unaware of this. I had a feeling Asogi may have chosen not to tell you. He's agreed to defend me knowing that if he fails, his dreams will be shattered? But I don't understand. Why would the government do such a thing? The administration has to choose from a large number of applicants for overseas study. It's very difficult to persuade them to grant permission, even in the most favorable of circumstances. I don't believe it. But I didn't do it. I swear it. I'm not a murderer. I'm sure that's true. Nevertheless, I can assure you that proving your innocence will be no easy task. You see, there are certain peculiarities about today's trial. Sorry? What do you mean? You'll soon understand, once proceedings get underway. But, then what should I do? Well, naturally, I'm not going to suggest doing anything that could lead to a conviction. Right, so... As soon as the trial starts, the judge will pose a certain question to the defense. When that happens, you must answer before anyone else. You must say, I do. I do? But what will the question be? Surely not. Do you accept the accusations brought before you? Of course not. Defendant. Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. Ah, it would seem our... Oh my god, surreptitious Tissuous? This is not this is not a word in my dictionary. Surreptitious, right? Discussions are to be cut short. So allow me to summarize. Oh my god, no Z's, huh? It's the same with apologize. But I guess I'm used to it because of like Dragon Quest, they also do the S's instead of the Z's. Kazuma Sogi must not be the defense lawyer in this trial. Of course, as the defendant, the final decision is yours. What are you waiting for? Do you want to be found guilty for failing to appear? Get moving. There's no point in anyone advocating for the likes of you anyway. This is it. If this trial goes badly, Kazuma's dreams of studying abroad are over. And what's more, I'll be found guilty of murder. And so, with absolutely no idea of what lay ahead, I embarked on that unforgettable trial. My one and only chance of proving my innocence, the trial that would decide my destiny. I actually don't know what he's studying. I feel like it gets mentioned, but he doesn't like maybe he's also in like that program of like, oh, becoming like a lawyer, like a defense attorney, but he wasn't really like as into it as his friend. Cause I forgot what I think it mentions what he studied, but it definitely wasn't this. So this is a courtroom. The Supreme Court of Judicature. No court in the land has more power. I didn't much like the look of those people sitting in the public gallery. Lots of military and other uniforms in there. The powers that have been demanded at... Wait, the powers that be have demanded that this be a secret trial. A secret trial? A trial that's closed to ordinary members of the public. Only military and government officials may attend. What? But why? It'll become clear in time, but for now... You need to concentrate, Ryunosuke. It's about to begin. The court will now hear the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. The prosecution is ready, Your Excellency. As is the defense. Before we begin, there is one point of order I would like to confirm. Yesterday evening, the defense made a last-minute request for a change of advocate. That's correct, Your Excellency. I made the request myself. Normal procedure is for the defendant's advocacy to be decided 2 days prior to the trial. As this is an unusual circumstance, I am obliged to ask for final confirmation now. Who advocates for the defendant in this trial? This is it. This must be the question. Who's going to defend me? That's the question the professor meant. But then, if I say I do... I need to answer quickly. What should I do? What should I do? I mean, I guess I'll just answer I do. Your Excellency, no confirmation is needed. As I'm standing here beside the defendant, I hope it's clear who will advocate for his defense. What is the meaning of this unruly outburst? I would like to inform the court that I, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, will be defending myself. You'll be what? What are you playing at, Ryunosuke? Professor Mikotoba told me everything just now before the trial. He did what? He said that your dreams of studying abroad would be dashed if you were to lose. How sad. It means you don't have faith in me. You think I won't be able to get you off? No, it's not that, really. It's just that, well, on the off chance that things don't go well for me, I couldn't bear to be the reason that you... Yes, I knew that's how you'd feel, which is exactly why I decided not to tell you. Professor Mikotoba shouldn't have stuck his nose in. Very well. The court hereby recognizes the defendant's desire to advocate for himself in today's trial. Well, well. Does the accused admit defeat already, renouncing his own counsel? Really? Make no mistake, counsel. This merely shows that the defendant's innocence is so apparent, he's confident he can speak for himself. Isn't that so, Naruhodo? Oh, yes, exactly. Exactly what I wasn't thinking. I'm not confident at all. In fact, my mind's a complete blank. I realize you're in charge now, but still, try not to look so bewildered. Well, for a mere university student to be brought before the Supreme Court, you must have perpetrated a most heinous crime indeed. As you are no doubt aware, this is the Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. Accordingly, the very highest standards of conduct are expected of all present. Do I make myself clear, Defendant Naruhodo? Yes, Your Excellency. It is therefore my duty to assess your competence for the task you have undertaken. My competence? What does that mean? He's questioning your ability to do the job. Well, he can't be questioning it more than I am. So, let's start with the very simplest of questions. Oh, yes? Kindly state before the court the name of the victim in the case. Well, that's easy enough. I've heard his name more times than I'd care to remember. But, wait. Ugh, I'm so nervous I can't even remember that. What was it again? Ryunosuke. Let me guess. Your mind's gone blank. You know me so well. All the relevant information for this case can be found in the court record. But I can't even find that. It's simple. You can access the court record with a press of R. With a press of R. If you ever find you've forgotten something, just consult that. It's all in there. I just have to press R for the court record? Alright, there's no time to lose. This is the list of evidence you've collected. Now try switching to people instead with R. You'll find details about the victim in here. When you're done, just press B to go back. John Wilson. He was visiting... So remember, everything to do with the current case can be found in the court record. Now you'd better not keep His Excellency waiting any longer. Go on. Find the victim in the people section of the court record and then press X to present. Try it now. The victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. Well, at least you can remember the name of an esteemed member of your own university. Dr. Wilson was a visiting professor from England, inviting to Yume University 3 years ago. Indeed, which is the reason why this case has such profound implications. The British Empire is at present our country's most valuable foreign ally, and as most of you will be aware, we have just signed a new treaty together after lengthy negotiations. There can't be anyone who hasn't heard of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. And yet, despite these delicate circumstances, the blood of an Englishman has been spilt on our soil. You two are both undergraduates at the Imperial Yume University, are you not? Murdering a professor from the very institution that provides your education. Have you no honor? Ugh, but I didn't do it! This case is coming under great scrutiny from our allies on the other side of the world. The court therefore wishes for a speedy resolution to this matter. Wait, did I press the button? Did I press the button? Hold on. Another. Oh my god, stop! Stop! And you're confused. Wait. Stop! Whatever, I guess it's gonna do it itself. I can't read that fast. All because the victim was an Englishman. Yes, Dr. Wilson was an Englishman. But nationalities and treaties won't make any difference for me here. The fact is, I was there at the scene of the crime. Can I actually... I can't even press anything. Oh dear, look at that. I'll be going... Wait. Okay, stop. Okay, somehow... Okay, it stopped. What the hell? I had to press that shit really hard for some reason. Okay, see you in English class. Bye. The British Empire. Wow, it's incredible to think... Wait. I've seen that man at university. I'm sure he's a visiting professor from Great Britain. I don't know his name, but still, I should go and say hello. So I went over to the professor's table and introduced myself to Dr. Wilson. Now then, let me pose my next question to you, Defendant Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency? How did this professor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson, lose his life? State before the court the cause of death. The cause of death. Well, obviously that was, should I check? Let me see. Yeah, gunshot. Or maybe I can just, like, press it. Yeah, okay. He got shot. Ryunosuke. Remember that in the court, every assertion must be backed up by evidence. By evidence? But how? Find the piece of evidence that shows the professor's cause of death and select present. Do it now. Well... According to this document, the victim suffered a hemorrhagic death due to a gunshot trauma. Learn to read, you imbecile. That's post-mortem. That's the post-mortem report, I take it. Sorry. Yes, that's right. The post-mortem report. In the West, a doctor dissects corpses to identify the cause of death in an autopsy. But here in Japan, a police officer merely inspects the body and draws conclusions that way. Oh, I see. As long as I'm not going to be tested on any of this later. This is a so-called photo... This is a... Yeah. Oh, yeah. A photographic print of the scene of the crime. You can clearly discern scorch marks around the bullet hole produced by the powder explosion. In other words, we should assume that the victim was shot at close range. Thank you, counsel. The court will accept this modern scientific evidence into the record. The photographic was okay in the court record. So that's a photographic print. Well, that's something I've never seen before. It's clearly superior to a drawing. The detail is incredible. Very well. I am satisfied with your answers. Let us start the trial. Certainly, Your Excellency. So, without further ado, in order to better apprise the court with the facts of the case, the prosecution hereby calls its first witness, who was there at the scene of the crime when it happened. Ugh, this is it then. I think I may have worked out what the professor had in mind. The professor? You mean Dr. Mikotoba? Yes, clearly you're the defense lawyer today, not me, but that doesn't mean... Well, I can still act as your assistant. Ah, oh, of course. When he was speaking with me before, he simply said, Kazuma Asogi must not be the defense lawyer in this trial. He really has been sticking his oar in, hasn't he? Maybe, but any help you can give me would be greatly appreciated, Kazuma. Well, my first piece of advice is, rein in that crazy look of bewilderment and control the cold sweats. Only if you rein in that crazy headband and control the cold stares first. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court, please. Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I am the head waiter at a Western-style restaurant called La Carnival. Him. Are you alright? You seem to be coughing up some, It's a regular occurrence. It really doesn't bother me. Well, it really, really should. As everyone knows, the capital's southeastern quarter was developed for foreign visitors some years ago. It's become a very fashionable district now, full of hotels to accommodate overseas guests. This grim crime occurred in one of the district's so-called restaurants. Understood. Hosonaga, you will kindly tell the court everything you can about the incident. At once, sir. And no petty interjections from the aspiring lawyer boy, please. Oh, perspiring maybe, but aspiring? It was just after 2 p.m. on the day in question. We had few diners at that time of day. The lunchtime rush was over, and there were only 3 tables still occupied. That fits in with my memory of it too. There was hardly anyone else in the place. It was when I was in the kitchen putting away crockery and cutlery. A gunshot rang out, so I hurried out to the dining area to see what happened. I found the victim, an English gentleman, slumped in his chair, and standing immediately beside him, gun in hand, was the accused university student. Hold on, let me just clarify something here. While I did pick up a gun that I found lying on the floor beside the professor, I didn't shoot him. I believe I asked you to refrain from petty interjections. The court wishes to listen to the witness's report of what he saw, you amateur. But the next time you interrupt at an inappropriate time, you will be penalized, Defendant Naruhodo. Don't worry, Ryunosuke. You'll have your chance to fight back. For now, we must just quietly listen to the witness. Ugh. If I may confirm one point, waiter, standing beside the victim with a gun in his hand was the same man we see here in court today? Yes, without question. I see. And apart from the accused, was there anyone else standing beside the victim? No. There was no one else around that table but the deceased Englishman and the university student. Huh? Wait, what did he just say? There was no one else around that table? What's the matter, Ryunosuke? That's just not right. When I went over to Dr. Wilson to say hello, there was a woman sitting opposite him at his table. Really? And that's not something the waiter could have missed. I've been warned about interjecting, but still, what should I do? No, we'll wait this time. I desperately want to say something, but I was told not to interject. Ryunosuke, if your parents tell you to study, you're the kind of man who would diligently get to work, aren't you? I suppose I am. I'd never have gotten into Yume University otherwise. But you can't just always follow the rules in life, you know. If you don't say what you want to say right now, you'll seriously regret it when you're found guilty. Alright, you've scared me. I won't forget that piece of advice in a hurry. And there is something I want to say. I'm just going to shut my eyes and say it. Okay, it made me this time. Just a moment, please. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone that day. I'm sure of it. There was a lady sitting with him at the same table. Dear me, what are we going to do with you? With your blatant disregard for court proceedings, I'm beginning to wonder if you're not a fraud. Could it be that the accused, this mere student, is not a real lawyer after all? But I'm sure of what I saw. Hosonaga, is there any chance you're mistaken? Perhaps your memory of events is hazy. No. The deceased gentleman came to dine alone. I don't believe it. I actually have a rough plan of the restaurant as it was that day. Please, have a look if you'd like to. Let me see. Ah, a sketch of the establishment's layout, drawn by yourself, I presume. That's right. I'm afraid I used the back of my business card. It was a turbulent situation. However, as you can see, the gentleman in question was seated alone. Well, you're clearly a very conscientious waiter. Thank you, sir. The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence. Oh, well, is there a problem? Hand the plan to the court officer at once. Of course. Here you are. What was that about? He's been completely calm and collected until now. Something certainly seems to have shaken him. Okay, business card. So, the court has now heard persist of the case. Yes, at the moment the gunshot was heard in the restaurant, the only person in close proximity to the victim was the defendant on trial today. It would seem we are looking at a black and white case here. Defendant Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency. If you admit your guilt at this stage, the court is willing to look mercifully upon you. In other words, you may have some small reprieve in terms of your inevitable punishment. I called this waiter as an unsworn witness in order to explain the details of the case to the court. But I must warn the defense, if you are determined to pursue matters further in this trial, the prosecution has decisive evidence from sworn witnesses who were present at the scene of the crime. What do you think I should do, Kazuma? What do you mean? Well, I'm going to be found guilty one way or another, it seems. Wouldn't it be sensible to plead guilty at this stage and hope for a more lenient sentence? Everyone keeps telling me that this trial is unusual, about these peculiarities. You said it, Professor Mikotova said it, and so has the judge and the prosecution. I'm scared of what lies ahead if I push this. As I said from the outset, I believe you're innocent. I trust you. And yet, despite knowing that, you're willing now to throw that trust back in my face? Is that it? What? If the accused is in fact innocent, then a defense lawyer is duty-bound to prove that innocence by whatever means necessary. Are you just going to abandon that duty? Are you going to give up on yourself? The battle hasn't even begun yet, Ryunosuke. The defense pleads not guilty, Your Excellency. We invite the prosecution to stop making empty threats and bring out its witnesses. Then we'll see just how decisive this evidence really is. Indeed. Prosecutor Ouchie. Please continue with proceedings. Well, you were warned. The young can be so reckless. You know, many call me a saint, but I can be a devil when I want to be. Ugh. In a few short moments from now, that dumbstruck young mouth of yours will be silenced forever. The prosecution calls its next witness. Very well. Officer, bring forth the witness at once. Witnesses, kindly state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, sir. The great Nippon Imperial Army's Sergeant Iesa Nosa. Iesa Nosa. Oh, that's funny. See, punny names. Reporting for duty, sir. Myself, I find employ as purveyor of fine articles of antiquity from the efflorescence of our nation, Nippon, and conduct my trade from Rasute, a humble premises in the 2nd district. Curio, I guess that's how you're supposed to say it. Curio Korekuta, my bad, at your service. An antique dealer and a soldier. What an unusual pairing. Both of these gentlemen were present at the restaurant on the day in question. They must be the diners at the other table that the waiter mentioned. Myself, I habitually take tea of the most exquisite aroma at the establishment in question, always post-noon. And, not infrequently, converse with interested parties regarding the curios with which I make my business. I can't understand a word that old man is saying. He's an antique dealer, and it sounds like he's a regular at Le Carnaval. He seeks out potential customers who may have an interest in antiques and tries to sell his wares to them. He obviously targets Le Carnaval because it's a high-class restaurant with rich clientele. Right, I see. Although to be honest, that sergeant looks more like he'd be a seller rather than a buyer. Now, you both witnessed the precise moment of this most atrocious incident. Is that correct? Affirmative! The enemy unit was seen attacking the foreigner in what can only be described as an act of war, sir. It was that black uniformed rogue infantryman over there who unloaded his firearms, sir. This man's as impossible to understand as the other. But I'm almost sure I heard a strange noise during that last thing he said. So, this is the decisive evidence the prosecution was threatening. The soldier is claiming that he actually saw the precise moment you shot the victim dead. Yes? Well, are you starting to feel uncomfortable? If I'm honest, I was feeling uncomfortable from the start. Now the court will hear your formal testimony, please. You will state everything you saw at the precise moment that the incident occurred. Yes, sir, yes, sir. Standing by ready to report, sir. Unsavory memories of a most acerbic afternoon. What the witnesses saw. I was ingesting a regular beefsteak at the restaurant while having a tactical discussion with the old man. Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a particularly fine golden curio to the military gentleman. At that precise moment, a firearm was discharged. I observed the enemy's actions with my own eyes. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly weasel. I was on my hands and knees investigating the whereabouts of my mysteriously absconded precious curio. Well, so you, Sergeant Nosa, actually witnessed the vital moment. You saw the split second when the defendant fired the weapon at the victim. Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir. That wicked university cadet, sir. That cruel and unforgivable enemy. What times we live in when an English gentleman may be assailed in the broad light of day. But this is ridiculous. I didn't shoot anyone. Is that really true, Ryunosuke? Yes, all I did was pick up the gun that I saw lying on the floor. After I'd said hello to Dr. Wilson, I went back to my table and sat drinking some coffee. Then, when I'd finished, I got up from my seat to leave the restaurant, when I noticed an English-made gun next to the chair where the professor was sitting. I thought perhaps the professor had dropped it, so I bent down, and just as I was picking it up, well, if that's the truth, there was obviously a criminal on the scene somewhere. And somewhere in these two witnesses' testimonies, there's a clue as to who that criminal was. There is? Ryunosuke, you must exercise your right to cross-examine the witnesses. Cross-examine? Do it now. As we have heard, Your Excellency, There is no room for doubt in the testimony of these witnesses. The defendant is clearly guilty. It is time to bring this despicable student to justice. Certainly, the testimony the court has just heard eliminates any vestige of doubt. Therefore, it is my grave duty to declare the verdict of this I appreciate how he raises his hand. What in the name of the Emperor is the meaning of this outburst? I am, the defense demands the right to cross-examine. Or to a cross-examination. Dear me. Let me guess. The Hachimaki headband boy next door told me to do it? How pathetic. Huh? How did he know? The prosecution objects. This is a clear waste of time. The defendant obviously has no experience. How can he possibly carry out a cross-examination? The defense is asserting its right to a cross-examination. Whether or not you think he's capable of it is irrelevant. Cosmo is so commanding. Very well. Let the defense conduct a cross-examination of the witnesses. Alright, this is where the battle really begins, Ryunosuke. But I don't even know what I have to do in a cross-examination. Isn't it obvious? You have to expose the lies in the witnesses' statements. How? You didn't fire the gun, which means what that soldier said has to be a lie. Well, yes, but it's just a case of proving it, and the key to doing that is evidence. Right? Evidence? All you need to do is present some decisive and indisputable evidence that proves the witness is lying. Now let's go, Ryunosuke. Don't let them beat you. Alright then. It's all or nothing. Okay, I was ingesting a regulation beefsteak at the restaurant while having the Okay. Can I press? I can press them. Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a golden curio. The way I play these games is I basically press everything just to see if something can get added. I mean, we can press this guy to see what the heck it was. Oh, maybe at the end, because he said he lost something, right? At that precise moment, a firearm. Okay. So, you're saying that you actually saw me at that time? Affirmative. I saw you, laughing, cackling like a madman as you trained the barrel of your gun on the English civilian. But that's impossible. I only... Allow me to confirm just one point, please. What's that, Private? Thinking carefully about the statement you just made, it seems to me that it must have been just after you heard the gunshot that you looked over to the victim's table. And so what if it was? Well, if that really is the case, it would mean that you didn't in fact see the precise moment when the killer actually fired the gun. Ah. And double ah. My sixth sense. Sorry? My sixth sense of danger. I picked up the waves of murderous energy radiating from your foul mind. Which means... A split second before you pulled the trigger, I was looking right at you, cadet. Surely that's not really possible, is it? Do you think I'd have got where I am today in the army if I couldn't sense danger in the air, son? Well, it would seem this soldier is absolutely convinced that he saw you do the deed. This is not good. Oh, I got a trophy, a reward. And from the back. Oh, from the back. From the back? It was from the front. Shot from the front. Wait, what do I... To the chest. I appreciate how he raises his hand. I'd do that too if I was in this situation. What? What are you playing at, cadet? What is the meaning of this subordination? Thrusting this wad of papers in my mustache. Inconsistency, sir. I mean, yes. There's a clear inconsistency here. What nonsense. What can this document possibly tell us what we don't already know? Well, obviously, that, I know what I want to say, but the words just won't come out of my mouth. I think this proves beyond any doubt, Your Excellency, that there is no place for an amateur student here in this grand courtroom. This is so frustrating. Oh, please. Surely this doesn't require an explanation. It couldn't be more plain. To spell it out would be an insult to the courtroom. Kazuma, what? What are you talking about? It's apparent from a single glance at the post-mortem report presented by the defense that there's a clear discrepancy here with the sergeant's statement. What? Sergeant Iesa Nosa. Yes, sir. What, sir? The statement you just made was this. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel. Yes, sir. Affirmative, sir. I witnessed the crime with my own military-grade eyes, sir. But no, that just can't be. And why not, cadet? Because, as is clearly stated in the post-mortem report, fatal hemorrhage from pectoral ballistic trauma, no exit wound. Bullet did not pass through the body. The photographic I could have shown that too. The photographic print of the victim clearly shows the same thing. The victim, Dr. Wilson, died from a bullet wound to the chest. Sergeant, according to your witness statement, the culprit shot the victim from behind. And that is the obvious discrepancy here. Well, how do you explain it? Oh. Well. What the? What was that? Something just popped up from behind his back, but he pushed it down again. Certainly, there is a clear discrepancy with the facts here. Would you not agree, Sergeant Nosa? Yes, sir. At this juncture, that would appear to be indisputable. Until the moment I heard the firearm discharge, my eyes were firmly fixed on the delicious La Carnival steak, sir. What? The last testimony the court heard has proven one thing beyond all reasonable doubt. This witness, Sergeant Iesa Nosa, did not see the defendant firing a gun at all. That's absurd. I think the conclusion we must draw is simple. There is no place for an amateur prosecutor here in this grand courtroom. There's been a complete turnabout in the mood of this trial, just from that one discrepancy. So, this is what being an ace attorney is all about. But I definitely saw him. That university cadet there, he was pointing the firearm directly at the victim's back. But I never fired the gun. All I did was pick it up from the floor. And you, old man, you didn't see the moment the victim was shot either. Myself, I have already been quite clear. The gunshot interested me not. I was far too busy on the floor. Too busy on the floor? Sorry, but what were you doing? Hunting for treasure. Treasure? Indeed, the Hoera Koban, my prized coin. On each occasion when I visit that restaurant, it is my habitude to place in my bosom pocket a particular trinket of interest from my shop, Rasute, in the hope of meeting a rich diner who might like to buy it from you? On the day under scrutiny, it was to the military man that I proffered my Hoei treasure. Believe that he would purchase such a rare find. I did not, but I was presented with little alternative. And then, after averting my eyes for the briefest of moments, it was there no more. It simply vanished. The koban vanished? Hunting around under the table, I was, in case mayhap it had fallen there, and then it happened. You heard the gunshot, you mean? Indeed I did, but I heeded it not, for I was concerned only with finding my absconded Hoei treasure. Nothing could distract me. Out of interest, did you find the coin in the end? No. I see. That lamentable day, the precious Hoei koban was lost to me. No doubt some unscrupulous scoundrel pocketed the prize coin for himself. As I am sure everyone present is aware, this case demands a swift and decisive resolution. Our government has promised to send a full report to Great Britain by telegraph this very afternoon. Nevertheless, the witness testimony the court has just heard was inconclusive. No matter how subservient our government feels it must be to the British, it would be unforgivable to deliver a verdict on this trial right now. What is your position, Prosecutor Ouchie? I can appreciate the names basically being the same, like Prosecutor Payne, Ouchie. The defendant may have fled a tiger at the front gate, but he will find a wolf at the back. My witnesses have further testimony to make. Explain. Upon hearing their next statements, it will become abundantly clear that there is only one person who could possibly have committed this despicable crime. The equally despicable defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. What? He really seems to have a despicable opinion of you, doesn't he? Ugh. Very well, the court invites the witnesses to testify again. You will thoroughly explain the reasoning behind the prosecution's allegation. Is that clear? As clear as Kiriko glass, Your Excellency. Yes, sir. At once, sir. Awaiting signal to testify, sir. Excuse me, but there's something, or someone, peeking out over your shoulder, I think. Affirmative. The newest member of the Nosa family to rise up through the ranks, sir. Name, Aido. It would seem the straps are a sign of the sergeant being too strapped to afford a nanny. Aido. Tension. Your father is about to quell the enemy. Watch and learn, my boy. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing. Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man he was, that young lad in black. That much I myself did see. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Indeed, alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself. Therefore, no one other than the black uniformed cadet could have dispatched the Englishman, my bad, over and out. They're both the same thing. These testimonies are certainly compelling. Wait, that's nonsense. The victim, Dr. Wilson, wasn't alone at all. Please, enough of these outbursts already. But there was a woman. There was a young woman at his table. You must have seen her. Everyone there must have seen her. If you call yourself a lawyer, then you will respect the rules of the court and speak accordingly. We are not here to listen to your fantasies. Ugh. It is evident beyond all reasonable doubt that the victim was alone at the time of the incident. The prosecution has photographic evidence of this fact. Is this a photographic print of the scene of the crime, counsel? Indeed. Of the table at which the victim was dining, taken by an investigator immediately after the incident. As can plainly be seen, there is only one place set. Certainly, based on the appearance of this print, it would be reasonable to conclude that the victim was not in the company of anyone else. Ugh, this doesn't make any sense. The court will add this new photographic evidence to the record. I don't understand what's going on here. It's just not possible that nobody else saw that woman. The waiter before said the same thing. He maintains that Dr. Wilson came to the restaurant alone as well. But that's not true. I saw her. I swear that I saw a woman with him. It would seem that we'll be able to telegraph the report to Great Britain on time after all. The witnesses' testimonies we have just heard leave no further room for doubt. These are very sensitive political times, as we all know. The ink is still fresh on the treaty with Great Britain. To think that Taketsuchi... Right, yeah, Taketsuchi Auchi will have contributed to the amity of these two great empires is an honor. How can this be happening? The judge is ready to rule. Stand tall, Ryunosuke. It's not over yet. What? If what you say is true, then there's something going on here behind the scenes. And now is your chance to expose it, to draw out the truth in your cross-examination. I don't know, Kazuma. The defense is entitled to cross-examine the witnesses, but make it quick, understood? Rules can be so unbending at times. Ugh. Okay, even if the fire is almost the same thing. Pointing a gun, he was. Furthermore, visuals confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Indeed alone. You must have noticed someone else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there. As you have been at pains to point out time and time again, I feel like I'm growing a callus in my ear. And yet, no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman. If only there had been more people dining there at the time, then someone else would have noticed her. Unfortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when it happened. The quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. I know, of course that place was almost empty. It's what you'd expect. Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of a time to eat. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eating at that time of day, and why he was alone. Yes, Your Excellency, there was indeed a reason. There was? This was found in the victim's jacket pocket. What is that, Counsel? It is a medical report. A medicinal report, yeah, sure. It would seem that the victim had an appointment at a clinic prior to visiting the restaurant. Hada Clinic? Yes, there would indeed appear to be an entry for the date in question. 19th November, noon to past 1 p.m. The very day of the incident. So the victim went for a late lunch following his appointment. The explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really has no bearing on the case. I wonder. What do you think, Ryunosuke? Well, it is hard to see how it could be related, really. Remember, you can request for it to be entered into the court record as evidence if you think it could be useful. Yeah. If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency. On what grounds? The court has already heard conclusive witness testimony. Oh, yeah, that's a sentence. Additional evidence would be extraneous. Not to mention, the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern. Whether or not they are of concern is up to us to decide. We have a right to explore all possible avenues. I beg your pardon? You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence. Very well. The court will grant the defense's request. Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It's a most disturbing trend. Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record. What we need right now is new clues. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first. Right, I hear you. You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival. It's the day after the festival already for you. Or perhaps you've forgotten that these witness testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate for the accused, Korekura-san. I forgot who he was for a second. He was by himself. Oh, maybe, what was the button again? Wait. Okay, there you go. Because I was like, it doesn't tell me like when we're actually in the stuff. Oh, I can't flip it because apparently he had like a he didn't want it to be taken. So maybe it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, at the very end it becomes important. Okay, maybe I'll press this guy. So you actually saw that with your own eyes, did you? The victim, Dr. Wilson, dining alone? That I did. Forgive me for the position I place you in. So the testimonies of the old man, the soldier, and the waiter all agree on that point. Isn't that interesting? And let us not forget the incontestable evidence we have to support their statements as well. As can clearly be seen, there is only a single beefsteak on the victim's table. A meal for one. No. The antiques dealer, the sergeant, and the waiter who testified before. It's not impossible that they're all lying. But if so, then why? If I'm perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea. Why aren't you telling the truth? What? What did you say, cadet? I clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed. But for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. Unfortunately for you, Defendant Naruhodo, it's not just the case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter, whose testimony the court heard earlier, clearly stated the same thing. He also said that the victim was alone. That's right. Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady. But if such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see proof. And if no such proof exists, the prosecution demands that no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It is a blatant waste of the court's time. There's nothing I can say to that. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. We've gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes. This is a brand new piece of evidence, so perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. How exactly? You'll notice that some pieces of evidence bear a magnifying glass. These are the ones you may examine. Press A, and you can take a closer look at the piece in question. Use R, 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 and R. To rotate the evidence in all directions and examine it from all angles. By using L, 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 and L. You can move the crosshairs around to hunt for clues that may have been missed before. If the crosshairs start to pulsate, press A to investigate further. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. See if there isn't something new to be learned by examining it in more detail. Okay, I'll see what I can do. I need to use R, 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 and R, L, 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 and L, and A to inspect any areas of evidence that look suspicious. Can we open it? Can we open it? Oh. Let's have a look. This is some kind of medical history. Ah, and there's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? It would seem so. Just before the incident, he'd had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps they used laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia. Although it's hard to believe there's anything that can actually stop you feeling pain. There's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure until anesthetic effects have passed. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. Okay, there you go. So like he couldn't have been eating then, because he was supposed to only drink water. Okay, so I think it's time we listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely. It was about him eating, right? A vision of the only one present. There, this one, I think. Yeah, this one. Because he couldn't have been eating. I hope it's this. I feel so stupid. Like, my logic is good, but would the game treat it as such? Well, I think, about what are you wittering, lad? Call yourself a lawyer? I wish I could, but first and foremost here, I'm the accused. Ryunosuke. Everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clearly in that cross-examination you just carried out. When you raised your hand straight up like that, so purposefully. You knew exactly what it was you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. Okay, and thanks for the advice. Korakuda, this is a medical report card belonging to the victim. Ah, I see. And? I don't see. What of it, boy? Comparing what is written on this report card with your witness statement, something clearly doesn't add up. Dear me, dear me. Have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur? Sorry, what? You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. But let's see if I can explain in words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. in the afternoon when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever he may or may not have done before that time is completely irrelevant. But that's, Remember, Ryunosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point. Your Excellency, I believe we're finished here. There is surely no need to prolong this trial further. The witness testimonies the court has heard have been clear and concise. This medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there is no one else besides this pale-faced pupil who could possibly have— oh god, it's doing it again! This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that? What? That outburst half petrified me, boy. Oh, maybe because he didn't like say, you know how they usually say hold it or whatever. I guess he hasn't learned the hold it. Of course I believe it. How could it possibly be relevant? Perhaps because Hada Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic. A dental clinic? Is that supposed to mean something to me? Perhaps if I told you that the victim had just had a tooth extracted. What's this now? And furthermore, if I told you that as a result, the victim had been forbidden from eating. Just what are you trying to say, cadet? He had orders not to eat, so what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours, post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. What? No, that can't be. Korakuta. What, boy? What? As you just heard, when he was killed sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all. No. Additionally, there's more. You have assured the court with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot possibly be the case. Because the victim, as we now know, had just had one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of the anesthetic. Expertly done, partner. What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at this photographic evidence. You can clearly see the plate of food at the victim's table. Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Or can't you follow the logic? How dare you? I think it's fair to say that the tables in this restaurant case have turned. Wouldn't you agree, Ryunosuke? Oh, yes, most definitely. So having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Which leaves one very crucial conundrum. Who, in fact, was eating the pictured beef steak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel? Counsel? Oh, that means me, doesn't it? Alright, the answer to this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of you turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it. So, the person eating the steak at the victim's table must have been this unknown phantom lady. Obviously, it could only have been someone else who was sitting at the professor's table. You will not let this go, will you? There was no such person. There was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, we know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything, yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there was somebody else there eating it. We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that these witness testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a fair retrial, relentlessly. Are you insane? You would take on the government? Don't worry, Counsel. I have no issue with you. What do you mean? I have issue with them, those two witnesses in the stand. What? What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So, if it now turns out that the two of you deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously you will be charged with perjury. Perjury? And, since this is a murder trial, you will also be deemed complicit in the killing. Complicit in murder? No. Negative. There was no mention of this at the tactical meeting. I was just following orders. That's right, as the man says. Just say you never saw the gentlewoman. That's what they told us. Oh. What? What did you just say? Oh, no. You were just following orders? Now, hold on, lad. I was, say you never saw the gentlewoman. When you say gentlewoman, do you mean you saw the victim with a lady from overseas? What? What is the meaning of all this? These witnesses gave false statements? Is this true, you pair? Just one simple slip of the tongue. Order. Counsel, explain what is going on here. It's painfully clear now. You tried to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth. Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this. Then who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut? Well, that's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as a conspirator to this murder, are you? You wouldn't. This can't be happening. Ryunosuke, judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence by someone with considerable influence. However, I don't believe Aochi had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there are only a handful of possibilities. It could only have been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. Well, any ideas about who might be behind this? If we can affirm who tried to silence these witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was that tried to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut? Of course, we'll need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever it was really did wield his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly... Remember how we made progress before? We examined this piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh, yes, that's right. Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything and make sure there's nothing we missed. There's no time to lose. I want answers. Can I check now? I think we can... Can we flip this? Well, that's unexpected. What is? Look, do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga. Well, yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. It's not the name that's unexpected, it's his job title. His job? Oh, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. But let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence if they're wielding it somehow here. If it's proven that these witnesses have been manipulated, I assure you the penalty will be severe. Please, wait, Your Excellency. I had no idea about any of this. I swear to every Shinto god, I knew nothing. And what does the defense have to say about all this, Well, Your Excellency. Ugh, no time to think. I'm just going to have to close my eyes and shout out the first name that comes to my head. Besides the prosecution, the only person with the necessary influence to manipulate the witness is this guy. This guy. Well, surely that would be Satoru Hosonaga. Hosonaga? The waiter who took the stand earlier? Poppycock. What possible reason would the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly have that level of influence. For once, I would agree with you. If, that is, the man truly were a waiter. What if he truly were? Come on, Ryunosuke, time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga's real identity as proven by this evidence. The plan of the restaurant sketched by the man in question? I agree, it shows a great detail of attention to detail, but I'm not sure we can conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency, that's the back of the card. It's the back of the card that's of interest. I beg your pardon? Or perhaps I should have said the front? Yes, it's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telling detail is. Would somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say? Hosonaga sketched the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of his business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession. His true profession. The waiter's profession? But that's surely... Good gracious. That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard any mention of this before? The Imperial Police Bureau has immense power. Absolute power as far as regular civilians are concerned. So, witnesses there in the stand. Was it in fact the waiter who gave you your orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you'd seen this foreign gentlewoman at the scene? Well... Inspector Hosonaga... I was worried something like this may happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility. Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusual, careless mistake. So, you mean to say, you really are a detective? But why would a detective be working as a restaurant waiter? Ah, of course, your salary must be terrible. I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes, there have been a series of incidents at the restaurant lately. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter, working undercover. Incidents at the restaurant? What kind of incidents? That would be classified police information, which I am not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to this case of homicide. Very well then, Inspector Hosonaga, but you will elaborate on one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We have just heard new information from the two witnesses beside you. That at the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. If that is indeed true, clearly you would also have been aware of this person's presence, having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner, therefore I am led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you require these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct? Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable. As I suspected. As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair, and beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim in the same table was a young lady whom I guessed to be an English woman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sealed off the restaurant and reported the incident to the bureau. It was then that I received some special orders. Special orders? You mean to say, remove the English woman from the scene at once. It was made clear that the English woman's presence at the restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders. But what if this English woman was the killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interest not to pursue that idea. The Empire views the friendly terms of this relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman as the primary suspect, well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of the question. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the Phantom Woman in this case. But it's not right. One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Kazuma? Yume University is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Britain, and I'm fairly certain that one of them, studying in the medical faculty's research laboratory, is a young English woman. What? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. You mean, when I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first. Then the court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The English woman sitting at the university professor's table was a certain Miss Giselle, maybe? Giselle, I think, Brett. She is indeed a foreign student studying in the research laboratory of Yume University's medical faculty. What is happening here? I admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence at the scene, and ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. It must now be up to Your Excellency to decide how to deal with the situation. Very well. My thoughts on the matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularly critical premise. Namely, that the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discussed that this premise is false, it would be desecration. Is that how you spell it? Could have sworn there was like an A or somewhere else in there. Of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point. But Your Excellency, that would mean missing the noon deadline of our ruling in order to send the telegraphic report to Great Britain. Our own government will surely be very displeased by such actions. Calm yourself, Counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceedings of my courtroom. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes, sir. You will locate this Giselle Brett and escort her to the courtroom with the utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency. But But that means you'll be going against the special orders you were given from the police bureau. As I said before, it is my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly. So it won't be a problem? Nothing will get in my way. Court will adjourn briefly. The prosecution must call the English student Giselle Brett to the witness stand. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Your Excellency. Good. Then we will have a 30-minute recess before reconvening. Damn, this was long. This was long as hell. Like, you remember when tutorials used to be like tutorials?